All right, I think we're live. Let's talk about building the next web.
All
And
right,
joined by
sounds
Witt.
good.
Witt, thanks for coming on today. I know you've been doing a bunch of stuff in Webflow Cloud. I think we are actually streaming on LinkedIn too, which has been a challenge for us over the last few sessions. So fingers crossed here. But yeah, give me a quick intro. What have you been working on?
Oh man, everything. I gosh, lately I've been working on a lot of AI agents. And am I getting a lag here?
Oh, it might lag, but I think it'll
Okay,
it'll
cool.
stream. So
Um, just doing a lot of stuff with local LLMs, local AI agents, and Webflow Cloud and Cloudflare and all those good things. But I feel like I've been digging into the local LLM stuff for almost 3 years now. So it's like, it's
wow,
wild to see what it has become.
what's like your favorite local LLM?
Man, there's a ton. There's a new Qwen model that comes out supposedly tomorrow. That's a good dense model that'll fit on like a Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro. But um, I'm able to run some of the DeepSeek models now too, which are really really good.
Hmm.
It's funny. I was doing something the other day and I was thinking about Letter Run and how much those tools would have helped when we were building that thing.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was cranking out 3JS scenes with Ren, just via prompts and DeepSeek and doing it totally offline. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, I've been looking at, and there's even some dedicated hardware that's been coming out where
Yep.
you can go in and kind of, you know, get a rack and get, a machine and start running, your own models.
It's
Um,
really fun.
and so, and then just as a bit of a background, I mean, you and I have gotten to know each other for almost like 19, 18 years, something like that.
I think at this point it's been 20.
Has it?
Yeah,
Was it
it's
'06?
2006 when I was in your Flash class.
Oh my gosh.
Macromedia Flash class. Mason was one of the best teachers I ever had at Portfolio Center, and yeah, it's really cool to get to work together now.
Wow. I was thinking, I guess it was like '06 that, and you and like, what is it? Like Adam and like it was such a great
Roger.
class. Roger, like that
Yeah.
was such a great class. It was my first class to teach over there. And it's interesting because I had seen, there was a portfolio that came out from, I don't remember his real name. Okay, Dave. You remember
Oh
this?
yeah, Dave Werner. Yeah, yeah,
Dave Warner, yeah, who's over at Adobe now.
yeah.
And I was like, oh man, it's just so good,
So
and
good.
he was over at Portfolio Center. And I was like, man, it'd be cool to be over at Portfolio Center. And, I was like, gosh, but I don't have the money to be able to go over there. So maybe I could just figure out a way to teach something. And so I'd been doing, Flash stuff for a while. And I was like, oh, this would be a great, excuse to go and just hang out with some of the awesome people. And, you and crew were a part of that. So it's great to
Yeah.
be able to meet you then.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was one of those things that when I took that class with you, that like changed the trajectory of what I was doing. So it was, yeah, very cool.
Well, and today is cool as well because it's really come in full circle where you're going to be teaching me about what you've been working on
Yeah.
with, with Webflow Cloud. And maybe give me a quick overview around like, why is this important? And especially why is it important for Webflow Dev?
Yeah. I mean, so I think it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago. Shane, uh, someone that I'd met through Slater and through other things, he hit me up with a question. He started asking me about Cloudflare workers. And so then I went down this whole rabbit hole of Cloudflare workers and all this and got really into building with those. And then when Webflow Cloud was announced, I was kind of looking into it. I was like, oh, this is like using Cloudflare workers, but within an environment that's already connected to your Webflow designer and easy to pass things back and forth. And for clients, a lot of it is it's like one account, right? They don't have to have
Mhm.
a separate Cloudflare account to manage and things like that. And what's funny is it had come around a time where I was working with a buddy who was launching a business, and he was building a site in Wix, and he was like, "Hey man, can you help me like figure out how to do da 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 da?" And Wix has this thing called Velo, which is
Hmm.
kind of like it's like a not as good version of Webflow Cloud, but
Okay.
it allows you to do like server type stuff and edge functions and things like that in Wix. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if Webflow had something like this. And I think it was 2 weeks later they announced it.
Hmm.
But I mean, just in terms of being able to take the stuff that Webflow already does so well and extend it, open up API connections, hide API keys, build services that talk to other things. I mean, it's just been huge. And it's, I mean, I'm biased. I love working with that type of stuff, but it's been really cool for our clients too, because, they might be like, oh, we're coming into Webflow, but we need to do this. And
Yep.
it doesn't seem like there's a native way to do that. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, hey, there's this package.
Yep.
Let's look at it. We can probably do it.
Yeah. And what would be like 3 really common scenarios you're seeing for when you're using Webflow Cloud?
So we use it a lot for Algolia.
Okay.
So one of the things that we do is use it to maintain sync state between indices. And we've actually been developing a product internally called Slater Search, which is actually, it's the same kind of principles as far as the syncs go. And so we would use it for that as well. But it's, that's something where you have a service that, either on a webhook or on like a GitHub Actions trigger will actually pull all your data from Webflow, transform it if you need to, if you have things that need to be consolidated or stripped out, and then send that through to your search service. And that's a huge one. So we use that one a lot.
Amazing.
I'd say another one is we like to hook up chat APIs and hook up some AI pieces to it. And it's great for that as far as just kind of being the middleware for what is in Webflow and having it communicate with OpenAI or Anthropic or even the local model. It's great for that. Just kind of handles that layer without having to spin up a whole separate server.
And so as a bit of, background there, it was 2 years ago, we were exploring like what the web could look like in a conversation form, like what happens to the web when it starts to get eaten by ChatGPT. There's obviously like bigger questions there that we've started to see come around since then.
Right.
And then the way that we approached this was we had kind of like our Webflow, and maybe what we can do in a minute is we'll like open that up, and I'd be curious to have you show just even the not cleaned up version of the site.
Yeah.
But we have kind of everything in collections. We have all the question answer pairs, and then you were, talk me through that. So you were kind of merging that together with Webflow Cloud.
So what we were doing with Webflow Cloud in that case is we take we use a key value store, which is basically just like a JSON object, and then we pull titles, and we had these like kind of reference questions that we would use in the Webflow collections, and those are our targets. And so what we do is say, okay, given a user's input, they type whatever it is they're looking for. The KV store holds all the references for the actual answers. So we have like a controlled data set that we have return, whatever, based on what they ask, whatever is contextually the most relevant. And then it does this kind of matching thing where we send it to, I believe in this case it was GPT, and it says, okay, this was the user input. Here's all the things that we've got as like our knowledge base. What's the most close common match we can match? And then we deliver that. And this was before, agents were really kind of taking off. And I mean, it's like now, there would be so many different ways you could do that matching. But at the time it was like, okay, we need to get here.
I remember you were looking at kind of like using both kind of large language models and then maybe like it's like small language models or something like, and kind of one is an interpreter and then one would hand over to the other. And this, and I believe it's built on like GPT 3.5 or something. I mean,
I think we landed on like 4.1 or no, it's 4.0.
Okay.
But it's, dated models a little bit at this point. Even though we're talking about a couple of years.
And I think the other cool part of this is we built it and we really haven't made any updates.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, like,
We update content, but
yeah.
hadn't had to update the infrastructure.
Yep. Yeah. And Shane just posted up here. Also, what's up, Shane? It's kind of wild how fast agent harnesses and tooling have developed. And
It's
it's,
crazy.
yeah, every single week. And we have a channel internally called, it's just like EA AI. And I think you started to download that or do
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like an analysis of that.
So we have conversations at channel going back to when GPT, excuse me, I want to say GPT 3 or 3.5 dropped. And it's funny to see because, you know, of course, everybody's making predictions in there about like, oh, what's coming and what's going to happen in a year. And now we can actually go back and see, you know, were we right? Were we wrong?
Yeah.
It's fun as like a snapshot.
And I think one of the other things we've been doing is like Salesforce integrations using cloud, like Webflow Cloud. Like,
Yeah. So like
other things
we
like that.
can, what's cool is like you can use Webflow Cloud. We do this a lot as sort of a Zapier replacement or like a make replacement. So like, let's say we got a native form that's in Webflow and we want them we want them to be native forms because the clients can manage them more easily. It's easier for authoring, but we need to get that data from, you know, inside of Webflow into Salesforce we did one recently called Creatio, which I'd actually never heard of, but yeah, so essentially you can pipe the data out via webhook or just to an API endpoint that lives in Webflow Cloud. Same kind of thing you do with an Algolia sync where you can do data transformations, you can do mapping, you can do validation, and then push that on through. One of the cool things is you can actually still have the Webflow native functionality active. So like if I submit a form, it can validate against Salesforce's criteria or any other platform's criteria. And then once that comes back valid and the submission goes through, it can still do the native form submit. So you still get your email notifications. And you still get a record of it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. So you've got sort of that also that backup inside of Webflow, where if something was to have gotten messed up or whatever, you can always roll back to that and be able to see, you know, and then, you know, as you said, get the email. And then probably also on the other side is like be able to go in and have it go to multiple emails based upon maybe a variable or something along those lines within Webflow Cloud. I'm just like, you can really do a lot of more of the back end stuff that previously, you know, we didn't have access to.
Yeah. Conditional routing. You could do conditional validation. You could, I mean, really, the thing for me that's been so cool about it is that you can do anything you could do with like a Next.js app or an Astro app, anything like that. So, you know, you've got all of a sudden access to a lot of stuff. I mean, I haven't done it recently, but a while back built a Stripe integration in there. So you could actually use Stripe payment processing, but on Webflow collection based content. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, so much of this stuff is just kind of like, all right. A lot of times it's like, oh, I got a buddy that needs help with something. It's like, well, can we do this? And then if the answer is like, I think we can do this, then we usually just try to do it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we've got looks like we've got, you know, some good people hanging out. So I want to thank everyone that's joined so far. Let's get into some tools. Maybe I'll let you drive here on what you'd want to show.
Yeah, cool. So this is one that
we should be able to just do like screen sharing. Have that come through.
Let's see.
And I just want to say I'm so excited that we are actually streaming on LinkedIn because, man, we've had some really good conversations over the last couple weeks, and then Riverside just keeps like crapping out. So,
it's always all right. Let me see. Can you see this? Let's zoom it in a little bit. So this is one we actually built this out for a client. But the gist of this is we needed something that would let us have more granular access to the Webflow logs. And, you know, via the Webflow API, they surface all this data. And not all of it gets surfaced inside of the actual activity feed inside of Webflow, or not in a way that's like easier to read. And so what we set up is this where I can go in, I can set a date, like a start date and an end date. I got some presets. it'll go through and it'll say, okay, cool. This is the activity that we've got. I can go through and search by, what user made an edit. I can look at the types of edits or modifications that were made to specific resources. If we want to just look at stuff that's scoped to a single collection, you can do that. And this actually, there's let me see if I can get more data. Because this one, like you said, it's...
And so what are we looking at here? So this is Webflow Activity Logger. Is this an application that you've built and then is sitting kind of between Webflow and Webflow Cloud?
Yep, exactly. Yep. And we got a real simple reverse proxy that sits on a subdomain that actually does run through Cloudflare just because it's DNS. But what it does is, like I said, it gives you that kind of granular ability to see what changes were made, what resource IDs, times, things like that. We needed it to narrow down something when we were trying to diagnose a bug, and it was like, okay, well, this seemed like it happened between this time and this time, but this gave us this way to kind of look at it, 10,000 foot view, and then zero in on specific stuff there.
So
the other thing, go ahead. Sorry.
Where does this application live? I can see we've got it reverse proxy. Is this living on Webflow Cloud, or is this living? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Webflow Cloud, the cool thing is Webflow Cloud has access to D1 databases. So if you have things you need database state for, you can set that up really easily. KV Store, which I use a ton, that's like, again, just like a basic JSON object, but it's really good for things like what we were doing on the EA site, where we had a list of things we wanted to make sure that the AI model had access to create that matching. And then it also has R2, which is object storage, and that's for things like images, PDFs, things like that. So it's really, you can build, in theory, you could build a full site in Webflow Cloud.
And for this application, was this vibe coded, or how did you make the application itself?
I don't actually vibe code. I actually, I code from a place of knowing what the code's supposed to do.
Okay.
And then I just kind of steer it. And so the whole way through, I'm checking, I'm, validating and making sure that input is doing what it's supposed to do, output's doing what it's supposed to do, database calls are right, things like that. But I will say that, all the tools available have greatly extended what I'm able to build.
So, Peter, I had kind of thrown out you're more delegating to a series of agents, or what? Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of it's almost like you're, I don't like the word scrum master. Sometimes it's almost like you're a creative director, but for code build, it's kind of knowing that you've got this tool that can help you create whatever, and then making sure that you're still in the driver's seat and saying, this is what I need, this is what I want.
Okay. Well, we'll have to have another conversation where you can get into more of this delegating and, running some agents to build things on your behalf. Because I know that you've been building a ton, and this is just one example of where there was some type of client need or review need or things like that. And then it's just oh, here you go. And it's sitting on top of, these services and, that type of thing.
Yeah, man. And there's more tools that we've built than there is time to show them for sure. But there's another one that we were doing not too long ago, and this is more just client education stuff.
Okay.
I think Mason shared the link and LinkedIn for this one. But we needed to go through and have a crash course that was for a group of developers that are React based, and how do they come in and kind of get their head around some of the concepts of Webflow and Webflow Cloud, things like that. And this is where stuff like R2 comes in handy, because you don't really need a server for this. You can just kind of host documents up on there, and you can have paths that steer. So it's it's under learn.edgarallan.com. DNS routes it to this R2 instance, and then you can actually see the output, which is it's up and available if anybody wants to go in and look at it. There's no gating or anything.
Yeah. And so this is another example of, this is a set of documentation, and then you used the series of agents to be able to put it together, and then are hosting this on Webflow Cloud. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Cool.
And then, one of the things that I've really been enjoying building and doing a ton of is, now that agent workflows are actually pretty usable, is starting to build things out based on using local LLMs. So like I built this agent loop called Sashimi. And Sashimi is my personal agent. It's kind of like my assistant. And what it does is uses these different models that are on my Mac Mini. And I can actually access this via Cloudflare tunnel through my personal site. But yeah, so like I can come in here, I can set up cron jobs to do searches for research for, AI news for the last week, or if I'm doing something where I had it teaching me cryptography, like principles every day, just one little snippet at a time. And so you design the curriculum, and then you kind of say, hey, agent, this is what I need to have happen. And it'll do that. And one of the funniest things is that I actually spent my birthday on Sunday building an Apple Watch version of this. So
no way.
Yeah. So this connects to the Mini from my watch over the 5G, and I can query, financial records, medical stuff, without worrying about stuff going up to OpenAI or to a place I don't want it to go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And then it's got like a companion for the phone and all that stuff.
That's so cool. How was it getting it on your watch? Like, what's the approval process, or what was that like?
Oh, I'm the only user, so you don't have to get approval. It's great. I don't think it's approved, actually.
Where did the name come from?
I just like the way it sounded. Like as I was kind of building it, at one point it was called Maki.
Okay.
And then I landed on Sashimi because I really like the sushi emoji.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, this was a hand rolled one. So it's not even using like the agent SDK stuff that Anthropic has available, which actually, if you're like building agents, is really good to use. I was just really interested in like the granularity of how these things get built. And so I just went kind of like one piece at a time and kind of stacked it up. But yeah, so I mean, it's got skills, it's got automations you can set up in here. You can pick your models, MCP servers, like all that stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun.
That's wild. And this is what's also wild is like, I had no idea you'd built this or had been using it, or,
Well, some of it came around on Sunday. So, I mean, it's like, I've been working on the broader thing for a couple weeks, but.
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to host this is like, I have not done a good job of like finding time to catch up with you and like different people. And so it's almost like an excuse to be able to do two birds, one stone, which is like have a LinkedIn Live and then also see all the cool stuff that you're working on.
Yeah.
Cause you'll post some stuff on Slack and I'm just like, oh, that's super cool. So great to be able to support it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's keep rolling. I'd love to see, some of the other things you've been building.
So did you want to see, because I was looking at getting the server-side rendering piece going, but I wasn't able to get, so I needed to basically had to anonymize the data in it because it was 4 o'clock. And I just don't want to be sure.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can skip that. And
the gist of it though, like the gist of how it works. Yeah. Is that, so Webflow Cloud, you can basically, take DevLink components you build in Webflow, put them up on web. I actually generally will always host DevLink components in my Webflow Cloud projects. I just like keeping stuff together like that. But you can take the components that you've built in Webflow, use DevLink to get them into Webflow Cloud, and then use the components based on having like certain attributes or slots to actually feed data in. So this use case that we kind of proved out a couple of weeks ago was taking like a product detail page, and we got a bunch of fields, and those fields are contextual based on like a logged in state or a logged out state. And when somebody queries a page, it uses the the slug to say, okay, we're going to pull this data from Algolia and use it to hydrate this PDP that sits in Webflow Cloud.
Okay.
And
what's
so
a
what you
PDP?
want, product detail page. Sorry.
Product.
Yes. Sorry. I'm
Okay.
speaking all kinds of jargon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure we're unpacking it for people.
Yeah. So the benefit of doing something like that versus rendering it client side is that you wind up with stable URLs that if Google comes around to index, it's not relying on JavaScript to load that content. So it's already there.
Yep.
Before the page displays.
That's wild.
It's really cool.
And I imagine like it's a little bit snappier. It probably creates less of a token call for agents that are, going to be trying to understand the page. And then you're not reliant on JavaScript, for, those calls and things like that.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's really powerful. One of the other things that we've been doing lately is using, so like we have people as they're building Webflow Cloud apps and extensions and services and things like that need front-end JavaScript that, they don't necessarily want to like decouple that. So they got the backend services, they got their front-end JavaScript, but one of the limitations of Webflow Cloud and really anything like this is that in order to have access to the content, you have to go through a full deployment, and that's fine. It's not a huge deal, but like, one of the things with Slater that has always been amazing is the hot reload.
Yeah.
You change code, you push it, it's up there. Yeah. We've had some clients who, for whatever reason, were like, we can't get through procurement for Slater, which it's like, it's $10,
Yeah, I know.
There's all these different levels.
Away.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So they needed something that kind of did the same thing, but didn't necessarily leave, outside of their Webflow Cloud ecosystem. And you can actually set it up to where you have API routes that you can set up on the front end that'll actually call the route on the back end, grab that JavaScript that lives in the KV store and immediately update it on the page. So you get the same experience where if you update that KV store without having to do a full deploy, you got hot reloading.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think it was really ever like designed for that, but it works.
Yeah. But that's the thing that's really great about like this layer, which is like you go and take all the stuff that you're typically doing in Webflow, which is the goal there is to be able to hand that off to a client,
Totally.
And they can get in there and have different modes. But at the same time, you need to be able to have something where you can interact with a larger, technology infrastructure and team and, all that type of stuff. And now being able to put that somewhere.
Totally.
I know you did a reverse proxy manager. And
yeah.
That was wild.
Well, let me see if I can pull that one up.
So one of the challenges that, we saw when we were working with 1-800-GOT-JUNK was they had some stuff that was on Drupal, some stuff we were moving over to Webflow. And then I believe you used this reverse proxy manager so that we could do URL rewrites and then double checking of those.
Yeah. So let me see if I can find this guy. Dashboard server. Yeah, they had a ton of very specific requirements around how their URLs presented themselves, and there were things where they wanted to have separate collections. So like if they might have something like locations and then like locations categories or locations regions, those might be three different collections. And so we would use a reverse proxy to kind of mash those together. Let me see if I can find this guy. I got so many VS Code windows open. It is.
I'll just throw this out there. If as we're going through this, anyone has questions, whatever, let me know. I just saw Brian Scott swung by and left us a comment. Yeah, so I don't know if he's tuning in, but yeah, I know he's doing some really cool stuff too. He's been, really building a company around how to build within, these new tools. And
Yeah.
so I'd love to be able to jump on with him and maybe have some demos from him.
Yeah. No, I hadn't talked to him in a minute either. I'd love to. I mean, he'd be a good one to have on here, honestly. All right. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to load up. No. Yeah. No, I mean, I can, but I also don't want to just sit here looking on my computer.
Well, maybe what we do is we could open up the Edgar Allan site as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can show you kind of what that's doing behind the scenes.
Cool.
And
because we're also about to, we've got a new version we're going to be launching.
Right.
I will say that for Slater, we've got some really cool stuff coming out where we are launching Slater Search. So this is an Algolia-like experience where we can also have an AI mode. And then that gets into being able to also doing filtering, sorting, pagination, a lot of real powerful things we can do. So tell me what's going on behind the scenes here, Witt.
So behind the scenes, and I can show you. I don't know how many people will be interested in this. I'm a console guy. But so what's going on behind the scenes? If I look in the network tab, just rerun this, you can kind of see the responses. So if I'm in here and I ask it, tell me about the team, what it's going to do is fire off a request that is going to look like this. So it'll go to that URL, and then we'll get a response back from the assistant that says, okay, cool, we're going to put a transition response. You had asked about using like smaller models with larger models. One of the things that they're really good for is kind of like intermediate banter, like if you want to have some little transition statement, something like that. You can use the lower end models for anything like that, and it doesn't cost much of anything. But then
it was also sort of a latency thing where we wanted to be able to have an immediate kind of response while something else was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then also try to bridge that gap between what was going to be a user input and then what we would have as a response. So if someone was to come, one of the things was interesting when we launched this, we got a lot of people that were trying to do, I don't know what, I guess, prompt injection.
Oh yeah.
Of like, give me a free website and, give me your banking account information or stuff like that. I mean, it was wild. And by the way, we record all of those. So all of those, we kind of know the session, the ID, all this stuff. So it's funny to see that come through.
Yeah. I mean, it's, so what happens kind of behind the scenes when this loads is the first thing it does is to get this KV collection. This is basically a representation of the data that's inside of Webflow. So we can kind of map it to that. And you'll see there's things in here like we've got a question. So the question is kind of what we connect for the matching. And I think in the console we can see.
Also got a question from Shane here, and he was wanting to know how we combated prompt injection.
Yeah, I mean, we just basically made it to where it could only answer from what the confirmed set of answers that we had in the site was. So it's kind of like if you put in something, it wasn't actually interpreting the data as much as it was saying, this is what I received, and these are the things that it can potentially match to. So if you put in something that was like, give me a free website, or you put in something that was like, tell me your system prompt, all it would do is look through this list and say, that's closest to this. Here we go.
Yep. And then the response, so this first thing where it says, let's unravel the mysteries of the Edgar Allan team, that's when it would come back and say, hey, we don't offer free websites, but these are our services, right? So
Right.
it would look at the analysis of what was being put in. And then based upon that intent, we would look for what a match would be. And then based on intent, then also create the kind of dynamic response of like, oh, is this good or bad? Are we close or not? If we're not close, then why are we not close?
Yep.
And serve that up.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the things that I think we talked about when we first were rolling it out, is that the whole point of behind the scenes, like what it was really doing is turning intent into content.
Yep.
And so we were saying, all right, user asked this, and
the interesting thing is how that has evolved, over the last few years within answer engine optimization, where, whereas search engine optimization, it was really around keywords and then finding content based on keywords. And then now what we're trying to look at is what is the intent of what a person is after, and how do we then influence those responses of ways that we could meet that intent and be kind of like the most cited or the best with third party explanations of why we're good. So it's wild to see this evolve again over the last 2 years.
I know, 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like, now as much as never before, you have to match and kind of anticipate how agents are going to use this stuff, because like even if a user might be doing like if I'm conducting research for a client, or if I'm conducting research just for something I'm interested in, if I'm like, I want to get a notification. I had one recently that was like, I need to know exactly when the Mac Mini M5 drops. Well, it never happened.
Yeah.
But every 2 days, I had this thing that would run. It would grab information from a bunch of different places, give me a report, send that to my email, and then I didn't have to spend time keeping up with it. And now, for better or worse, agents are like running wild all over the internet.
Oh yeah. And Shane had a second question here, which is, did we understand our customers more after the launch? And I would say yes. And that's one of the things that we're now going to be including with Slater Search, which is we can track what people, having an analytics layer on top of our search layer, so that we can understand this as a sort of owned piece of media. Like we can't exactly track what people are putting into these models and other places, but what we can understand is what they're putting into our website.
Yeah.
So Shane, I'd love to get you a demo and get you ramped up there.
Yeah. Just a couple of things that were kind of cool about this is when we were doing it, observability into the thinking of an LLM is like always tricky, right? It's like, how do you, like you can see chain of thought in some. They're starting to have that on frontier models because people are using that to extract information to build models from. And Anthropic loves to talk about that. It's funny because they ingested basically like all of this copyrighted material to train these models, and then they're like, somebody's stealing my prompt. But one of the things we did was say, okay, when you make a decision based on the information that you've got and what the user asked, tell us why you made that decision. And so getting that rationale, like right here, was something that let us say, okay, based on our prompt and based on our data, we need to kind of tune for this, or we need to tune for that to make sure that the answers were as relevant as they could be.
Well, I was just jumping into LinkedIn here, and we've got some good comments on LinkedIn. Some of those haven't come through into Riverside, but yeah. So we've got Ben and Andy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
From our team. Dan Dawson.
Hey, Dan.
Saying hello. So Jordan says, I want to hear about this guy. It's Agent Stack. The world would be a better place with more mini wits, and I would agree with that. It's hard to duplicate you with, but yeah, we could give it a try.
Well, one thing I do want to show that's client facing, and this is totally okay because this is a site that's live and the client is actually actively using it. Satellite Industries, we did some work for. One of the things that we use for both Slater Search and previously for Algolia, because we're moving more towards Slater Search, is natural language processing. And so if I'm saying, what trailers did you offer? What it can do behind the scenes. Oh, uh-oh. Let's see. This is demos. Tell me about Sanitrax. There we go. So what it's doing behind the scenes here is actually saying, okay, I've got this query from the user. Let me get the network stuff through. I've got the query from the user, and then I want to find the query right there. Essentially what it's doing is saying, okay, this is what was asked. Oh, there we go. And what it's going to do is say, okay, cool. So this has Sanitrax. This company makes portable trailers for kitchens and restrooms, and they make all kinds of stuff for events. And, if you've ever been to a wedding and you see like a really nice portable restroom trailer, it's like this kind of stuff. But what we can do in the actual search query is say, okay, we got this long string of whatever. This isn't super long, but it could be. And we want to say, okay, from this, we're going to either extract. So this is a known product. And so it says, okay, cool. These don't even have to process the same way. But you can take a customer's or user's natural language query and turn that into a Slater search query or an Algolia query or anything like that. So it's like, it's not super different to what we were doing for the EA site in that you can a lot of times use these things as interpreters. And so they don't even have to necessarily do all the heavy lifting. They just have to infer whatever those connections are between the intent and the content.
Cool. Well, and I think that helps to just streamline, how to move from that search experience into a site experience, which I think is one of the next things that we've been thinking a lot about. And people have talked for a while about having more personalization on the web, and it really hasn't manifested itself. But I feel like this is like just starting to, we're at the flip phone stage of personalization and, AI enabled web. So I think a lot of that will start to come out over the next few years or, months even.
This is, it's nice that it's going. It's like maybe next week.
Yeah. What, I'd love to see if there's any other questions. We've got a pretty good crew here between Riverside and LinkedIn. So if you're curious about something or, I can't promise many wits, but could go through and get something after the fact here.
For sure.
What's something else you've just been excited about recently? it's kind of hard to narrow down, but I love Sashimi. Like that's great. And
so it's funny. So Sashimi started as like, I'm like, okay, I have an 8-year-old daughter named Ren. She is awesome and wonderful and curious, like I am and was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was talking to her the other day about how, in my mind, there's never been a better time to be curious because you've got all the resources for learning and going down these rabbit holes and trying stuff and building stuff. But she's 8 and AI is big and massive and kind of not, it's like giving a fire hose of information to somebody and just like pointing it at their face and just like, And so I'm trying to think of ways that I can introduce her to this technology because it's going to be important for her to understand that in a way that is not just turning on that fire hose and saying, all right, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what it started as was I actually took an offline copy of Wikipedia, which you can download. It's about 110 gigs, has all the photos. And I set up a KiwiX server. And then I just set up one of my local models with a web UI that eventually has become Sashimi and set it up to where she could actually chat with this very, constrained agent that I had built about stuff that's on Wikipedia that could even filter out stuff that was like maybe above her age level. But just as a way for her to start thinking about human computer interaction in an accessible way that we actually felt okay about.
Yeah.
And so that was where it started. And now what it's turned into is like my little toy where I can be sitting somewhere and on my watch, I can run inference on my computer back home. And, the thing is, man, there's Siri, which just came up, and it's like, now it's taking notes on what I just said. But there's not really any connectors for Claude or OpenAI or anything like that on the watch, which I'm like, man, that's crazy. It's such a easy form factor to interact with these things.
Yeah, I'd be like, I need to be able to do this or whatever, and
or just
talk
like
to my phone, and then
well, one of the things the other day, it started raining, and it was going to rain most of the afternoon. It's been raining in Atlanta all summer, and I needed to change Rin's dismissal at her school to be carpool instead of me walking to pick her up and all that.
Yeah.
And so I have a skill that Sashimi has that I can say, hey, change pickup to carpool.
Yeah.
And the agent goes through and it uses a service called Himalaya. It fires off an email to her school, to her teacher, changes the dismissal, monitors for a response, and as soon as it gets one back, lets me know that it was acknowledged. And it's like, that by itself is It's simple.
Yeah.
But it's like super useful.
Jeez. Well, I think one of the things we need to probably do just as a team is have a, machine, like basically it's back to the old rack days.
Right? Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we need to have our own rack. And there are some places where we can provision like a Mac Mini.
Yep.
I remember there was a group out of Atlanta that they were doing this like 10 years ago. And I was like, why would you want to have, what was it called? It was like Mac Mini Farm or something like that.
It was something like that. I can't remember right offhand, but I know we've talked about it recently.
Yeah. And at the time I was like, I don't know. That just seems weird. But now I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. And so getting rack space and some, dedicated fiber and
that the hardware thing now has become such an issue because the price of memory has gone up so much because these behemoth models are just they're like gluttons for memory, and all the GPUs are 200% what they were when they were listed a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
even the old ones, like even like a 4090, you're going to pay in some cases more than what they listed for when they first launched. But there's like the DGX Spark, which is a good one that NVIDIA makes that is, it's still not, it's not like $1,000 or $500, but it's accessible. It's more accessible to a consumer. And then the Mac Minis and Mini, I can't remember the name of it. It's like an AMD Ryzen chip, but they're about, anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000, $3,500. And you can actually run some really good models on those completely offline, completely privately. The power draw is nothing compared to what these racks of H100s or A6000s or RTX 6000s would take, which I get excited about because I like not having to use the data center pull stuff for everything.
Well, we'll have to have maybe another stream on setting up local models.
Oh man!
As we're kind of wrapping up here, what would you say is like, what's the punch list of like, how would someone get started with building with, Webflow Cloud?
I think that they have great docs. So like it's really well documented in there. There's, there's stuff that you can use for Claude. You can even, we've even written a skill that's Webflow Cloud specific, so it knows the difference between Webflow Cloud and Cloudflare. I think just like anything else, though, the best way to start with it is just to have something you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like it's not really useful just to read the docs and be like, oh, theoretically, this is what could happen. It's like, I want to build this thing.
Yep.
And then back into it from there.
And maybe, even getting into that, moving, like having a query to your local model or, model out there in the world and be like, this is what I want to do. Could I use, Webflow Cloud for it?
Yep.
Give me the steps. And then it'll be like, sure, go into your dashboard. There's a little cloud icon that's on the left-hand side. You're going to click on that. You're going to add an app, like all the different, steps that you would look at. And then it sounds like you've also done some stuff to abstract this out. And I think we've got our docs that we've posted up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it would be cool as well as you know, we're continuing to build it because we're building just a ton right now. I mean, I don't think we've ever built as much as we have been right now. And the other thing I'll say about the things that we're building is that we're often building things that just typically we would not have built. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I think there's maybe this misconception that like, oh, you just start, doing some type of AI building and then all of a sudden you're just going to like press the button and the website will be done. And it's more like, oh no, we still, press the button and the website is done. But now we've gone and created a monitoring tool and like, a better search console and, all sorts of stuff.
And I think still, I mean, as good as the models have gotten and as efficient and they're fantastic at coding. Like it's incredible, but they still need, in my mind, I mean, you still got to know where you're going, right? I mean, if you're purely vibe coding, you still at least generally have some idea of kind of like what the outcome you're looking for is. And I think it's, one of the biggest skills with so much of this stuff is just being a good writer and being a good thinker and being curious and finding those little threads that you're like, this is interesting to me, and just going for it.
Well, Witt, I want you to just know how much I appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, thanks,
and we have Jonas who's got a question. What have you built Webflow Cloud that you flat out couldn't have delivered before? And are you using cloud for gated authenticated experiences? So yeah, let's unpack each one of those. And Jonas, awesome to see you.
What's up, Jonas? Yeah, man, you've saved my bacon a few times, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that a lot of the stuff we're building in Webflow Cloud, we would have probably traditionally used Cloudflare, just like Cloudflare Workers and Pages for. For me, I mean, still one of the biggest differentiators and kind of selling points for it, and particularly with our clients when we're talking to them, is that they just don't want to have two different services they have to maintain and manage. And, I mean, they're decoupled, but they're still at least in the same account and the same billing and all that stuff. So yeah, and it's kind of a non-answer for that, but I think that.
Well, but I think if we get into it, I mean, we were just starting off at the front of this, and you were talking about your application you built to monitor, what was it? Deployments or activity?
Monitor site activity. Yeah,
monitor site activity in a more detailed way. Reverse proxy monitor that you built.
Yeah.
As what was happening here, Jonas, I'm not sure when you were able to join, but when we were doing the deployments for 1-800-GOT-JUNK, they had half of it that was on Drupal, and then we were moving over to Webflow incrementally, and we were doing it in batches of, let's say, a few hundred pages at a time. And then we had to manage all of those URL rewrites, and then doing the QA on that. I think initially it just looked like something that just couldn't happen.
Yeah.
And then, you built this app, both sitting on Webflow Cloud and then also kind of managing a bunch of this stuff so that we could do the URL rewrites and then see what was going to happen from like the reverse proxy. But I think that's just scratching the surface. I mean, I think we'd probably have to query the team. And it's the thing that I see just continually is it's almost like this shrug that we see in terms like, oh yeah, well, I just built this thing this morning because there was a challenge and whatever. It's on Webflow Cloud. You guys can use it. Which it's almost so unremarkable. Like I feel like the team, it'll be like cool, but like it's almost like this unremarkable thing. Whereas 2 years ago, I mean, it would have taken months and months and months to even think about doing something like that. And then afterwards, we'd be like, oh, like how to be able to get this out into the world or make it into a real product. And now it's almost like as valuable as a spreadsheet. I mean, like spreadsheets can be really valuable, right? But we kind of like make it, hand it over, and then, keep moving on.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to show you that I did get the reverse proxy tester up and running.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait. This is
so it's, and I got to preface it with stylistically, I was just kind of like blasting through it. So it's not, I don't think it's my prettiest work, but it is fun. Let's see.
So we're going to screen share it here and.
One sec. All right. So and make sure this thing will run. So basically, this was what I wanted to diagram for the team, exactly what happens when you run the reverse proxy. Let me just, I know that's probably tiny. Oh gosh, let's see. All right. Well, it looks like it's good, as big as I can get it. But essentially what it's going to do is we have all of these routes in the reverse proxy. And a lot of them have path rewrites and a lot of them have nuance to, like, we're doing path compression. So we've got like 3 collections with 3 different folder slugs that we need to make into one. And what this does is gives you a way to kind of like monitor it and see it. And again, I'm sorry, it's so small, but it's on a big monitor. But yeah, so I can go through, and as it's running, I can monitor failures. I can see any warnings. I can check my passes. I can collapse everything. If I want to just see what the static pages are doing, I can do that. And, I can get an overview, which is basically just everything open. And it's generally going to tell you which way it's routing, whether it's going to Webflow or Drupal. It goes through, oh, wait, I can click on this. So yeah. So it'll tell you like what the consolidated slugs are, anything we're kind of putting behind it. We can have that in here. The SEO rewriting behavior, and it just kind of like highlights each piece as it's running in the background. It is a lot of data though.
This is unreal. Like, I remember when you showed this to me originally, I could not believe what you were doing here.
It's like that. I was like curious. I was like, I wonder if there's a better way to explain this to them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, is that possible? Okay. Then I follow that thread and I'm like, well, let me see if I can build something. And I build something. I'm like, and then, okay, what if we did this? And so all of it's such a dance. And I think that, all this stuff is moving so fast, and it's, I think, almost impossible to keep up with. I don't even try to like keep absolutely up with it. I think it's most important to find something within it. If you're interested in it, find something within it that you're interested in, focus on that and follow that. But it really is a good time to be curious.
Let me, I see we've got Cloudflare workers running here. What is a Webflow Cloud portion of this?
That basically hosting the UI for this. So the reverse proxy has to live in the reverse proxy has to live within Cloudflare or some other DNS service, so it can have access to the domains and handle the routing. So like there's not, as far as I know, a way to do that within Webflow Cloud right now, which is all good. It's like nice to keep that separate and with the DNS.
Sure.
But the dashboard build out, the processes that run it, all that kind of stuff. I'm running it on localhost right now, but that was how I got it running.
Well, and the cool thing here, and by the way, this is up for a AI award nomination. So Jonas, if you have a pull, well, 1-800-GOT-JUNK is up for some type of AI award.
Okay. Cool.
So if there's any pull from anyone over at Webflow, I will say this was like super cool that you, 1, just created this whole application. 2, we delivered the application to that team. 3, it's running on their Webflow Cloud instance, and then connecting over to Cloudflare so that they could do the reverse proxies. And so, I think the question here was, what would we do today that we previously would not have done? And I think this is a just perfect example of that, where it wouldn't have even been possible. I mean, the QA on this for every deployment, like we were originally, I think, going to do like 2 deployments over, the 5 or 6 months or something like that. And I think we were doing deployments maybe once a week. I mean, it was
once a week. And so that was reverse proxy updates. I mean, we finally got, it took a while to get a process that was working for everybody, but they were a great team to work with, and it was really fun. A lot of interesting challenges.
Yes. Yeah. Just an incredible group, and so cool to see. Like, I mean, they're pushing terabytes of data per month of traffic. So, well, cool. Let's, get any other questions are out there, put them in the comments. Witt and I can go through and respond sort of after the fact. Want to thank just everyone who's been able to join. So, Jonas, Jane, Pitar, we've got just some really, good people that have been able to come along. And I'm so excited that this worked on LinkedIn because we've really struggled with getting it to stream live. And I feel like there may be some times when it's frozen or whatever, but we'll get some clips out there.
Cool.
So yeah, great to see everyone. Witt, hang around for just a second so that we continue to upload. And if there's other things that people want to see, just let me know. We're really just trying to share more around how we're building and then showing some really practical examples.
And and quick follow up. If anybody's interested in talking about any of this, any more of this, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I love talking about this stuff. So just let me know.
Awesome. Let's do it. Cool. All right. See you, everybody.